Hey, this is RIDESHARE Rhetoric. I'm Clarky.
And I'm Margaret.
And this is the next episode of the RIDESHARE Rhetoric story. And this is I think this is a topical one. I think we should talk about purpose and age.
Purpose and age?
Yeah, you'll get it as I tell you the story.
Okay.
Because this was crazy. So I picked this guy up, and he's older. When I say older, I thought he was in his 70s. And so, in the general chat, you've got to remember a lot of the rideshare rides that I do aren't podcast worthy. They're just general chats about the weather and holidays and things like that. So this guy gets in the car and we're just generally chatting. And I say, "Oh, have you retired?" And he goes, "Oh, hell no." I said, "Well, what do you do?" He goes, "Oh, I'm in finance." I said, "Well, really? You broker finance for other people?" He said, "No, I'm the financier." And we sort of chatted about that. I won't go into too much detail about that. But then he told me he was 87. I said, "That's great." So this is where purpose comes in. So the purpose of life, he has reason to get up because he's actually working for people. He's still sourcing business and he's still...
Yeah, that's cool.
And it's a really... And we spoke about that in the car. He was really interested, going, yeah. And I looked at him, he was full of life. His eyes were sparkling. And I said, "Mate, you are an inspiration. You look fantastic." And he goes, yeah, I've got 4 daughters and I've got, I don't know how many grandchildren. And he had 4 or 5 great-grandchildren. So he's been around a while.
It's 87 years, what you said.
So he's still had this sparkle. I said, "Yeah, but is it the work that gives you that sort of that sparkle in your eyes?" He said, No. I said, "Well, what is it? Because I want some of that." And he went, "I'll show you." So he gets his phone out, opens up, goes into his photos, scrolls through, and he picks up this one photo and he blows it up. And he turns around and shows it to me. And he goes, I said, "Who's she?" So this Thai girl's looking at me. And he goes, "That's my girlfriend." I said, "Really? How old is she?" "Oh, she's 42. But she looks a lot younger, doesn't she?" I said, "She looks much younger."
42.
She's 42.
And he's 87.
Yeah, and she looks young.
Mm-hmm.
And I said,
Okay.
"Well, that's giving you the sparkle in your eyes. That's fantastic." I gave him a little high five for that.
Of course you did, because you're a bloke.
I said, "Top job, dude."
Seriously, where does that put me?
You're much younger. So he was all excited about that. And I said, "How do your daughters feel about that?" And he went, because they're a lot older than she is.
Yeah, of course they are.
And they're going, "Oh, I'm not too happy." They're worried about the inheritance. And
Yeah, isn't that interesting? That's where it goes,
Yeah.
first of all. And, you know, I mean, I don't think we're entitled to anything from anyone at any point. But there's a sense of entitlement, isn't there, in this world?
There is. And he was actually asking me whether he should let her go because it was causing conflict in the family. And I said...
How long had you been together with her?
"Oh, she's living with him." He didn't say how long, but she's living with him.
And they're both happy?
And I said, "Are you happy?" It's exactly what I asked him. He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, it's keeping you alive. Have a look at you. You look spectacular." He lives up in a really high part of the town and walks down the main street every day, which, it's a difficult walk for somebody that's healthy. Like, people go to that hill as fitness every morning.
Yeah, they do.
So, and I said, "That's keeping you alive." And he said, "Oh, my GP doesn't think so." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "GP tells me she's going to kill me." I said, "I think you should do what's best for you. If it feels good for you, you maintain it. Don't go about changing because somebody has an opinion on it."
Well, I think ultimately we know what's best for us, right? But there's all these other people. It sounds like there's so many other opinions and people around who are have their own vested interest in it.
Well, but even his friends would be sledging him.
Probably should be sledging him, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, it was a really It was an uplifting story. Again, he turned around as we got out of the car and he shook my hand. He said, that was a really uplifting chat, because I don't know whether he has the opportunity to talk to people about that sort of stuff.
Yeah, probably not.
He was quite open and honest. And
you are the barman of RIDESHARE.
Yeah. Yeah, well, maybe. But it was, I found it like uplifting in the fact that I'd met an 87-year-old guy who wasn't whinging about his body and whinging about like getting old. He was actually inspired.
Yeah, but how's your form? Yeah, high five you because you've got a girlfriend who's much younger.
Oh no, I was high fiving because he was alive.
Oh yeah, that's not how that came across.
No, it was good. He was so happy when we got out of the car and walked away. But it's about like purpose of life. Like where do you sit on a person that age having his purpose being a 42-year-old?
Well, I don't necessarily think that was his purpose either. I think, you were saying that he was working.
Yeah.
He's still working. He still works. Like that gives him purpose, getting up, but probably the thrill of a deal or the thrill of helping someone or whatever it is for him.
Yep.
That's really purposeful. And then he's found a girlfriend who hopefully they have some good conversations, Let's have a think about that. But
no, sure
let's hope so. Like a genuine, I do say that.
Like my friends say that to me about, like, when I was 50. Say when I was 50, and this is going to sound dodgy, and I was going out with a 36-year-old. I was actually married to a 36-year-old.
Yeah.
When I was 50. They used to say, what do you talk about? You haven't got anything in common.
14 years is quite different to 45 years as well.
Yeah, I know, but people have conversation. They may not be the in-depth conversation of the period that you grew up in, but they still have opinions on...
Yeah. I mean, my mum married someone 21 years older than her, and they had a really long and happy marriage, and he's only just passed away at the age of 100.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we've talked about purpose a lot before. I think purpose is... we need to have purposeful lives, and when we lose that, we kind of lose this drive to I don't know, to really live.
Exactly. And I loved him. I loved him because he was living. Yeah. He was still working. He was still excited about his partner. But
he's also doing really cool, like, going for proper walks up and down
day.
Difficult terrain. Not, we see lots of people going out walking on flat surfaces. Well, we actually need to have the difference in terrain to keep ourselves fit and healthy. It's not just all about, okay, I'll go walking and I get my 10,000 steps.
The thing that I noticed the most was how he got out of the car. He was 87, he just opened the door and jumped out.
There you go.
Now I see elderly people get out of the car and they rock and they hold onto the door and they try to get their backside out, and it's really difficult.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
I see that too.
Yeah, it's cool. Anyway, if you like that story, follow me or follow RIDESHARE Rhetoric, like this episode, and we'll catch up soon.